Good Monday afternoon, and to my Canadian followers, happy Thanksgiving to you, your family, your communities, wherever you are in the world today. So I'm really excited because I approached my friend Margaret Kunst to kind of be on the hot seat today. I sort of know where she is, but I don't know where she serves. So why don't we get into this, I'm going to say special Thanksgiving edition of Where in the World is ... a W5 story question where I bring new connections, long-term connections, and ask them the who, what, why, when, where questions. I just mixed that up, Margaret. It's where,
okay.
then, when. Where, then, when. So without further ado, sounds like we're at Dr. Seuss land, and I know you can appreciate that because you're going to tell me in a second one of your who hats. So please introduce yourself, and what are 5 who hats that you wear in this life?
Okay, well, my name is Margaret Kunst. That's one of the who's. Some of the hats that I wear, I guess the most recent one would be I'm a counselor in the Township of Langley. I was elected about 4 years ago and currently running for re-election. I'm a mom of 4 kids. I have 3 grandkids who are wonderful. They call me Nana, and I love it when they come over and have a sleepover and we can do all the stuff that, maybe their parents don't want them to do, like eat and honeycombs and all that good stuff. I have 5 brothers, a business owner, passed. Yeah.
I'm going to add, because I know you also are a community volunteer.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, yeah, you volunteer.
Yes.
So in that volunteer hat, what organization are you connected to?
Okay, well, I really, the organization that I've been part of for probably since 2009 was the Puck's Power Play Foundation. So as the operations director for about 10 years, and Puck stands for Promoting Community Through Kids in Sport. It was started by a friend of mine who turned into a friend after I got involved with the organization. And it was really to make sure that kids in our community could afford to play the sports that they loved. So I started out actually getting involved with that organization because I was helping settle a bunch of kids who came here as refugees. And they got the opportunity to play hockey. And so it was so great. And I'm still super passionate about that organization and the work that they're doing in the community. I could talk for hours about how the impact of meeting these families and these kids on my life, even on my family's life, because it really changed my perspective on, on things that you think are important. And so.
We'll make sure afterwards we'll put the link so people can learn more about that organization. So other than feeding your grandchildren honeycomb cereal, what are some of the things that you like to do with your grandchildren?
Well, we have a really nice swing in the backyard that's attached to our tree. And when they were little, now they can do it themselves. But I love going to the parks in our community and go for bike rides. And it's fun. We have sleepovers, and they're great. So, but we're pretty fortunate here in Langley to be able to take advantage of some pretty awesome parks in Langley, for sure.
So as a township counselor, and congratulations on seeking that next 4-year term. So what is one thing that you do as a township counselor that maybe people out there don't realize that that's within the role?
Ooh, well, I guess I'll explain a little bit some of the things that we do. And we get our agendas on a Thursday night, and sometimes they're like, if it's paper, it's like this. I get mine digital, so I don't always know exactly what that looks like in paper. So hours and hours of reading. We get to, take phone calls. People have an issue with something that's on the agenda, and we want to get that sorted out as much as possible, so that by Monday we have all the information and can make a decision. So that's the agenda piece. I think my favorite part of being a counselor is actually, helping people to solve problems. Sometimes
Mm,
we'll make there'll be a policy or, have a bylaw where it really is, there's, what they call unintended consequences. And, how is this policy impacting the residents in our community? And for the most part, it's usually positive, but there are times when some of these policies, we need to
mm,
look at them and see. So there's that aspect to it. And then events, you know what? We should show up. We need to show up to
mhm.
different things because we are the face, we're the representatives of our community. And it's not me showing up. I'm showing up on behalf of the people who voted me in to be their representatives. So I think it's important that, those are aspects of the job that you just do.
So where in the township of Langley do you live, and where have you lived? Like, I know myself, I've lived in the Walnut Grove area, I've lived in the Langley City area, I've now live out in the Alder Grove area. So where have you lived in the township of Langley?
Great question, because I was born and raised in Langley, and as a young girl, my parents, when I was a baby, we lived in the city of Langley now, sort of over by Sam's Pub across the street. So that's
Mhm.
kind of where, and then they moved up to Brookswood, and then to South Langley. And then we moved to Milner, which was probably my most of my memories because I was a teenager. So I got to do 4-H because we lived across from a dairy farm, and the Smiths actually had dairy cows, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to, join 4-H?" And me and my brothers were like, "Sure, that would be awesome." So we spent quite a few summers hanging out at, the Matsqui Fair and these different fairs, but the highlight was always the Peony, right? Because you got to
Mhm.
sleep over. So then we moved to, I guess we'd call it like Clover Meadow Crescent area.
Mhm.
So after that, I got married, and then we moved back to Brookswood, and I currently live in Brookswood in the Cedar Ridge area. Yeah.
Cool. So when did you decide that you wanted to put that hat on to be a politician?
Well, I never thought this was something I would ever do, although I was always very politically engaged. I was always watching what was happening in our community or in our country, in our province. So I guess it wasn't that much of a stretch that I would actually do this. But I never thought that I would want that sort of that public profile. That
Mm,
part is probably, the thing that kind of would probably stop a lot of people from doing it. So
mm,
once I kind of got over that part of it, I guess it was something that I thought, you know what, this is a great way to serve my community, the community that I was born and raised in. My kids are living here, and my parents, and you think about all those relationships and all those different people that represent our aging population, our young families, and we're sort of in the middle. So
mhm.
I wanted a voice at the table and to make sure that our community is moving in the right direction, I guess. I mean, everyone has their opinions on it, but just having a common sense voice at the table, I thought that I could sort of be that voice for people. And yeah, so just to serve my community.
And Margaret, what's your why in life?
My why. I think that really, I would say 10 years ago when I started getting involved outside of my own family and outside of my church, and got involved in the community and saw how there are different people really struggling, and maybe I could make a difference. And that's just something that I think when much is given, much is expected. And that's just something that if there is a way that I can make a difference to make life a little bit easier for somebody else. A lot of people have made that sacrifice for me,
Right.
and I want to be able to give back. And so my why, I suppose, is making sure that life is just a little bit easier for somebody if I'm able to do that.
That's a great why. And I'm gonna pause right now to kind of wrap this little story up. Margaret and I are connected in a weird and wonderful way. Um, we both grew up in the Langley area, as you've heard, and a shout out to the Kuipers family. We go back
Yeah.
and forth that my oldest sister was married once upon a time to Albert Kuipers, and whenever I see you post about stuff that you're doing with them, and I went to school with Gary and Evelyn, and Grace was in my class as well,
I
and
love
we have
those
very
people.
similar parallel lives, and that's
Yeah.
when we never knew that, or I never knew that until
Right.
we got out into community with
Yeah.
each other and started chatting. So now
Yeah.
we share a family in common as it gets
Right.
updated.
Yeah, and a great family. Lots of memories of, and my whole family, especially my older brothers, were also very connected to the Kuipers family. So
I think large families attract large family, because you said
yeah,
you have 5 brothers.
yeah, I'm right in the middle. Yeah,
Okay, so am I. So
yeah,
there's 7 in my family, and the Kuipers had 8 children. So I think large families attract
it's true.
large families.
And it wasn't all that unusual, 30 years ago to be from
Right.
a big family. So
Oh,
yeah.
are you saying we're 30? I love that.
True. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for sharing. I'm sure just a very small portion of your unique to you W5 story with my Facebook page today.
Wow, thank you for having me. That was
We're
awesome.
both going to encourage you to, I believe across Canada, it's civic election time, that October the 15th, get out, choose a mayor that is going to represent you and your community, your township councilors, your school trustees, because truly, guys, our local government is the ones taking care of us directly. So get out there and vote on October the 15th. There's advanced polls going, I know, all over across Canada, so find it in your community. And I'm just so grateful for my community and where I live in. So thank you, everybody. Tune in again next Monday at 1 p.m. where I bring you another connection and ask them the W5 story questions. Bye-bye, everybody, and gobble till you wobble. Bye.
Bye.